Merry meet, Annie here. On some more Q&As that you've all been so kind to send me. Nature's Fairy, that's Brenda, asked if I have a totem animal. Do I have more than one? Not a surprising question from someone who is so attuned and akin to the world of the animals as Brenda is. My totem is the Canada goose, and she's a very specific energy who has been with me since I was in my 20s. And is my most powerful totem. She is a spirit guide, and she is, in a way, teacher, conscious. She shares her energy and who she is and what it is about her species that is powerful, where that wisdom comes from, where that experience comes from. Very close bond. It's the animal I am the closest to, and if we think about what a totem is to me, and there's so many different things a totem can be, as different ones of us describe what a relationship is. To me, a totem is an animal spirit which you can be one with, which permits you to be with them and experience things through their eyes and through their own natural wisdom, which is so often very different than our human wisdom. The Canada goose, and particularly my Way, who is my totem, has been that for me for, I guess over 30 years now. I have had other animals who have made themselves known to me as teachers in a sense of learning from and being intrigued by, and it's like they fulfill a purpose. They capture my attention and I learn something from them, and then we separate, we go our own ways. The only other animal who has made an introduction into my life and has stayed is owl, and I have spoken about owl many times and have even done a video just on owl. If you're a fan of owls and you'd like to search my videos for owl, you will find that. Owl came to me unexpected in a shamanic journey, a vision quest actually, when I was making my drum, and I knew nothing of owl. My sense of owl was indeed not what owl, as she came to me in that vision, was. So I believe then that in our lives there may be more than one powerful totem influence from the spirit world of the animal. I would say that Canada goose and owl are the two for me. And I am open to other adventures in my life which will bring other animals to me. Other animals have definitely made their presence known at different points in my life and offered their wisdom. Wolf and bear, hawk, manatee. I'm thinking there's so many different ones. Something will capture my interest and I will read about them and study about them. Monarch butterfly became extremely powerful to me in a time in my life. I was going through great transformation and read a book that just truly moved me and inspired me on the monarch butterfly and their journeys along the North American continent, north and south, and their long flights, and it's like at different points in my life different animals have made themselves known to me in some way that they became teacher. The Canada goose has been with me all my life as an adult, and owl, I believe, will now be with me also for the rest of my life. And I look forward to finding if anyone else makes a permanent attachment to me, or whether it will be, which is so delightful, the comings and goings of so many kindred animal family. Chrissy Rose asked me if I had sites I could recommend, as well as books for us to read about paganism, religion, and Wicca. And Chrissy, I'm going to do a separate video about that. Got the question a lot, so I'm going to cover that separately as soon as I have a chance to organize my thoughts. I'm not going to have sites to recommend. In fact, I look forward when people recommend good sites to me, because I'm just not so much of a cyber person. I've not looked to the internet for that kind of thing. The only internet site I can think of that I have turned to regularly was Mike Nichols' sites on the history of paganism and on the solar holidays and other things that he has put out. And now, of course, he has a great book that he's brought out. So that's the only website I can think of that. I'm going to check my bookmarks, because it'd be interesting to see if there's any sites I've bookmarked in there that I'm failing to think of. So I will do that. When I do the book video, I'll mention links to websites if I have any. And Chrissy, who is a young lady, mentioned that another question that she has is, how do you respond to a teenager who's Christian asking what beliefs you have, and why don't we celebrate the same holidays? I didn't have that problem when I was a teenager, Chrissy. And maybe you and I have actually discussed this privately. I'm not sure if we have. I'm thinking we have. I kept my beliefs as a teenager private. I had no interest in sharing my beliefs with the people I went to school with the family members. I really felt like I was exploring, and I was very aware of the fact that I was defining what religion meant to me and what spirituality meant to me, and I didn't want to be telling anybody this is what it is for me, because I wasn't so sure it would be the same thing in the turning of the next year and the turning of experiences in my life. I kept it to myself. So as a young person, as a teenager, I didn't have to deal with the challenge of explaining myself to others. I had the benefit where I live that as I was getting older, moving out into community, beyond my local community and school and going through high school and graduating, when I got into the wider world where I live, it is a university community and there are people of many faiths, and I never had any awkwardness with not believing what I was expected to believe, which is obviously, being from America and coming from the background I come from and living where I live, people assume you're going to be Christian. No doubt about that. But the thing is that because of the environment I have lived in, I've lived in the same place now for a very long time, there are lots of people from different paths who live in this community. We have an awful lot of Indian families, Pakistani families, Chinese and Japanese families, a lot of Native American families who are practicing their religion, not just Native American by culture or ethnicity, but spiritually. A lot of African American families who really are connected to the spiritual roots of the Dark Continent. So whether they are Christian or not, there's a lot of mysticism and power in the way they express their beliefs. So I had the advantage of being in a part of the United States where one did not have to be considered odd if one was not Christian. And then in my current life, which has been for probably the better part of 15 years, being a Unitarian Universalist, I have a platform to discuss religion with those who are looking for a specific religion that I am part of that gives a platform for discussing some of my beliefs, and Unitarian Universalism is the place I have that conversation. Chrissy, I've just never had any desire to share my private practices with people who are not part of that community. I have educated and taught and lectured when the opportunity has been available, both formally and informally, but they're in venues that I choose. I've never felt like I had to explain to anyone in life why I don't practice certain holidays or do certain things that they do. I also have no problems honoring Christmas because it is an important tradition in my family, a time of love and of family. Easter was the same thing. I could have such wonderful memories of my grandparents and all the wonderful family times. It takes on some of these expected celebrations in the Christian year do take on a lot of value to me because my family was Christian. I have such wonderful memories of those family gatherings at those times, so I can look at those holidays and participate in them comfortably. And I just have never felt the need to have a discussion with anyone that I don't believe in this and set myself out from that. We all make our choices how we're going to handle that. I have no problem at this point in my life, like volunteering to work Christmas where I work, and people will go, oh no, we don't want you to do that. And I would say, I have no problem. I personally don't celebrate Christmas. So I would really be glad to work Christmas so that those who do can have the day off. I have no pushback on that. I don't have any negative incoming regarding that in my life. When I was your age, Chrissy, I would not have wanted to be in a discussion about my private personal faith with those who probably in many instances are going to have limited understanding or desire to understand it. I also was the kind of young person who was happy to be in the background and not receive attention. So that is a very different kind of teenage years than you were probably experiencing. So not much advice from my background that's going to help you, because I chose to go through it a lot differently than I think that you are. You are more open about who you are, open about your explorations. I can't give you advice what I did when I was a teenager because it is so different from what you are choosing to do. My choice was, this is mine. This is something I hold close and private. I kept it to myself. I shared it only with others who were on the same path. My experiences were different than yours, weren't they? Okay, this question is from EGEDZ, excuse me for bending over, 229, so I don't know what your name is. I apologize for just using your channel name. And you said that you were hoping I would maybe read a chapter from a few out-of-print magic books. I wouldn't know an out-of-print magic book, my friend, if it hit me over the head. I am not that kind of read, and it sounds like you might have more resource to that kind of thing than I. If you were suggesting that I do it, I'm assuming that is something that intrigues you and is part of what you do. And it's not, I don't live in that intellectual world. Let's just put it that way. It's not that it's not an interesting question. Please don't misunderstand me, but not this witch. My books are the books of the 60s and the 70s, and occasionally intrigued by some of the newer authors, and I have seen pretty exotic tomes that were out of print, especially with my ceremonial magic friends, but they are not part of my library. Not even really part of my experience. No, I would say no, not part of my experience. Bits and pieces as reference, but no, not in their entirety. I wish you all mirth and reverence. Merry part.